By popular request, we're talking free agency today for the Dallas Cowboys. A couple players, groups of players I want to discuss. Several Dolphins players getting cut over the weekend. Want to break down if they make any sense for Dallas. Tee Higgins, as ESPN is pushing that one again for the Dallas Cowboys. And Amari Cooper. Now, if you want us to be live for NFL free agency, I know I certainly do, type me in the comments section of today's show. Couple of different Dolphins were cut on Friday. Raheem Mostert, who, if you watched our live show on the trade targets, we put him in there and had to delete him from the trade video once it went out later on demand because he got cut in between the live show and that video going out. Kendall Fuller and Durham Smythe. I won't spend time on Durham Smythe. They already have that type of player. Let's go to Mostert, though. And with his release by the Dolphins, I am kind of intrigued by this front. The comp pick game is such that if players are cut, they don't impact your formula. That could always be intriguing for the Dallas Cowboys. Now, the big question is, which Raheem Mostert do you get? 2024 version didn't do anything for you. Wasn't good. Didn't put up any production at all. The 2023 version that was averaging almost 5 yards per carry, that had the NFL high 21 touchdowns at 1,000 yards on not really that high of a sample size in terms of like volume of carries, was really intriguing. The 2022 one was also really good. Here's my concern. Mostert and his overall profile coming out of college was he's not the biggest guy, but he's fast. Ran sub 4.4 40-yard dash. He is now going to be 33 years old in April. He's coming off a bad year. And at that particular age, that should raise red flags for you. So I do have some interest, but even if I'm adding Raheem Mostert and, in this case, replacing Rico Dowdle in this hypothetical since Dowdle's going to be a free agent, I would very much still be trying to add a premium draft pick. This is bigger, maybe better version of like the Ronald Jones signing from a few seasons ago. I think better, but you're not set in stone with him as a key part of your offense. So would you sign Raheem Mostert? It would be a one-year deal. Let's say it's like $2 million. Why for yes and for no? It is the pinned comment on today's video. So if the ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. Kendall Fuller also released by the Miami Dolphins in what was a cap-clearing move. The Dolphins hit the few $1 million, saved even more in terms of the cash being spent there. Fuller was, over the course of his career, and still I think was for the most part in Miami last year, a fine player. He had some of his better years back in 2022, even 2023 to an extent. Would break up a pass per game. That's valuable stuff. Was hurt this year. And one thing you got to vet and figure out is, okay, what happened to that knee? Was the knee an issue? Because the knee cost him some games down the stretch this year. How bad that knee injury is moving forward is a pretty valid question mark. I like the idea of what Kendall Fuller can offer me. He can be a potential starter if Trayvon Diggs needs more time to recover from his injury. If you lose Jordan Lewis and need that veteran outside corner, given the fact that Diggs and Butler are coming off of injuries, and the only guys healthy under contract right now are Deron Bland, Kalen Carson, Andrew Booth, Troy Pride, and Kamon Hall. The idea of adding a cheap veteran corner who can sub in and be a stopgap starter for me and doesn't break the bank, cost maybe a few $1 million, that is interesting to me. I like that idea. I think that makes sense. It's a good business decision. It's a good roster management asset. But this player is also coming off a knee injury and missed time last year and is getting up there in age. And do you trust him to stay healthy? The idea, yes. This might not be the best application of said idea, though. Now, today's show is made possible by PrizePicks. It is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks. The basketball season's set to get back underway. Baseball also here by the way. It's available in over 30 states, including California, Texas, Georgia, and Florida. Riding with my boy Jack Lauderay and his slightly homer pick of Durant home runs. But I'm doing the flex play. That way, if I get one wrong, I still come out on top. You can cash out if your lineup is not perfect. So go download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. It's prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS. PrizePicks. Run your game. I'm a little annoyed we're doing this, but when ESPN talks about stuff, it ends up being a very popular talking point. The worldwide leader in silly takes, that's what the S stands for in ESPN, is pushing the idea of the Cowboys signing Tee Higgins in free agency. So it's our old frenemy, and it's not really the friend part. Mike Tannenbaum says the best year of Dak's career, arguably, was when he had Amari Cooper as the number 2. Everyone has taken away CeeDee Lamb, and boy, if you could bookend him with Tee Higgins, that changes the entire complexion of the offense. Now, ESPN, I think it's SportsCenter, Matt Berry said there's going to be so many suitors for Tee Higgins, and Dallas will absolutely be one of those. Like you said a moment ago, CeeDee Lamb, kind of a one-man wolf pack. I think you need someone to pair him up. Him up with Lamb in Dallas. I have thoughts here. I have a lot of thoughts in terms of how big media continues to make this somehow be a national talking point, not just for Dallas, but for a variety of teams. But of course, the Cowboys Report, so we'll spend more time on that front. Before I get to my thoughts here, what is the % chance you think the Dallas Cowboys actually get Tee Higgins? Honest answers for me in the comments section of today's show. The national ESPN-led narrative idea of Tee Higgins to the Dallas Cowboys, simply put, is wildly unrealistic, and I would actually argue silly to suggest so. The S in ESPN stands for silly, I guess, and that's a nice way of me saying stupid. There will be a lot of interest in Tee Higgins, including, of course, by his current team. That is why they're going to use the franchise tag on T. The Bengals aren't as dumb as some people might want them to be. Like the Patriots, I'm sure, would love him to hit the open market. I would fully anticipate the Bengals franchise tag Tee Higgins, at minimum, try to work out a long-term deal because Higgins changed agents to one that is not as, team challenging to work with. The $26.2 million tag is less than he'll likely get on the open market in free agency. I think it is far more likely the Bengals simply pay Tee Higgins, that he never sniffs NFL free agency. And even in the event that he does, if Higgins hits free agency, the Bengals say, we will consider tag and trade options. There are teams that don't have a number 1 receiver that are desperate for one and have more money and more salary cap space and more willing to spend their cash on a receiver than Dallas is. The Cowboys are not and have not been a team that enters and wins bidding wars. That's not what they do. To borrow an NBA term, they only spend the mid-level exception every year. They don't spend the max contract free agent money. And frankly, for Tee Higgins, with this team, I don't want to. I love T. He is an awesome football player. When T and Chase and Burrow are out there, that is statistically the best offense in football. Higgins can't play an entire season either. He always misses time. He's not going to stay and do 16-game seasons. That's not who he's been when he's young. He's only going to get older. Now, it makes sense for the Bengals to pay him. I don't want to drop $28 million per year on Tee Higgins when I'm paying CeeDee Lamb $35 and I got to pay Micah $35 plus. I'll spend that money at a variety of other spots. Now, we will have more Cowboys free agency coverage for you right here on the channel. So if you haven't already, hit that sub button, youtube.com/CowboysTV. Let's talk Amari Cooper and his potential return. The 33rd team listing the Cowboys as the best free agency landing spot for Amari Cooper, in part because he once was a Cowboy. I have no doubts that was a big factor in the conversation and in the consideration for putting Amari in Dallas as a potential landing spot here. Amari wasn't as good this year. In fact, he kind of really fell off. His numbers essentially got cut in half, especially from a yards per catch perspective. He had 1,200 plus yards in Cleveland in 2023. Between the Bills and the Browns, it was less than 600. And figuring out why is a big factor in that. Age and just general decline in play is a factor. Now, we'll talk about the bridge stuff here and the relationship, but would you bring back Amari Cooper? S for sign, P for pass. Here are the career numbers at all 4 of the stops for Amari Cooper. He was at his best, by far, in Dallas. Maybe not by far being a little bit disrespectful to his Raiders time, but overall was better in Dallas. Better than he was in Cleveland, better than he was in Buffalo. I don't think you're going to get number 1 caliber wide receiver Amari Cooper anymore. I don't even think that's going to happen. But if he can be a better number 2 receiver, I'm intrigued. I am also questioning how he fits with what the new Cowboys offense will look like, because it is going to be different. I also have my biggest question on this. How's the relationship? Amari was, difficult maybe isn't fair to him, but that is how the front office and the coaching staff viewed it, that he wasn't always just doing things what they asked him to do at all times. He was always banged up in some capacity, would have multiple road games here. He went MIA. All of those things are true. And Amari probably didn't like getting bodied by the front office on his way out of Dallas. I don't think McCarthy leaving alone fixes that relationship. And it might not be one either side really wants to potentially renew. But that type of veteran receiver who could still be a number 2 potentially for you, that's the type of player the Cowboys should consider this offseason.